Let us have a look at this question. Which among the following is found in plants, plant cells but absent in animal cells? Okay, so here is a list of cell organelles which are given here, and we have to choose an option which is present in the plant cells but it is absent in the animal cells. Alright, so the options given here are mitochondria, plastids, ribosomes and endoplasmic reticulum. Alright, now if you all remember the structure of these eukaryotic cells, that is your plant cell and the animal cells, you would remember two major points of differences. First thing, plant cells are photosynthetic in nature and that is why they have chloroplast. Okay, what are chloroplasts? Chloroplasts are a type of plastids which are double membrane bound cell organelles. Alright, this structure is not present in the animal cells. The reason is because they don't have photosynthetic machinery. Honestly speaking, they do not have chloroplast and that is the reason why they do not have this photosynthetic machinery. So this is one point of difference that exists between the plant cells and the animal cells. The next point of difference that you can think of is the absence of cell wall in the animal cells. So animal cells do not have cell wall, whereas the plant cells have a cell wall. Alright, if you actually go inside the cell, and look at the cell during the cell division also, so one of the organelles which is very important for cell division, which is called as centrioles, even this is present in animal cells but this is absent in plant cells, so this can also become a point of difference. So here I have listed down three major points of differences between the plant cell and the animal cell. So plant cells have cell wall, they do not have centrioles, and the third point is that they have plastids. When you talk about animal cells have centrioles, animal cells do not have a cell wall, animal cells do not have plastids. Alright, in this question what we are asked about is the difference between plant and animal cells with respect to which structure, which organelle is present in plant cell but is absent in animal cells, and out of the given differences that I just spoke about, the answer is going to be plastids. Cell walls and centrioles are not mentioned here in the question, so we need not be bothered about that here. So these plastids are present in the plant cells but they are absent in the animal cells. Let me show you with the help of a recall slide the structure of the plant cell as well as the animal cell. So here first you are seeing the structure, an overview of the animal cell. So animal cell has got all these organelles like nucleus is there, which is the brain of the cell, has the genetic material and hence has or carries out the regulatory activity for the whole cell. Then there are ribosomes in the cell, animal cell we are talking about. Then we have cell membrane, which is obviously the plasma lemma which is covering up the animal cell here. Then there are Golgi bodies which are involved in the modification of the proteins that are synthesized by the endoplasmic reticulum. Mitochondria, powerhouse of the cell, so it is responsible for energy production. Then we have smooth endoplasmic reticulum and rough endoplasmic reticulum. Smooth endoplasmic reticulum or SER being involved in lipid metabolism or lipid synthesis, and RER being involved in the protein synthesis. Alright, lysosomes are the suicide bags. Centrioles are responsible for cell division like I specified because they are responsible for synthesis of spindle fibers here. Peroxisomes are the microbodies which basically help in synthesis of peroxide, right? Oxidation of free radicals as such. Then talking about cytoplasm, cytoplasm is the background material of the cell. It is the semi-fluid matrix in which all the organelles are embedded within the cell. Then comes cytoskeleton, cytoskeletal apparatus like microtubules, there are intermediate filaments, there are intermediate microfilaments I should say. So all these filaments, proteinaceous elements basically help the cell to have an internal structural framework. So these are called as cytoskeletal apparatus or cytoskeleton. So here that was a very quick review of what an animal cell is. In a similar way, most of the structures of the plant cell and animal cell are quite similar, but like I listed down the points of differences earlier as well, here you see that plant cells have got cell wall. Plant cells have a prominent vacuole also. Even though some animal cells have vacuole, but their vacuoles are much smaller in size and not as prominent as it is in the plant cell. So this is another, small point of difference that you can have between the plant cell and the animal cell. Also, what you see here is the presence of plastids. So this is another major point of difference, which is what is relevant to this question. So these plastids are basically the double membrane bound organelles, which are of different types. It can be chloroplast, it can be chromoplast, it can be leucoplast. Chloro and chromoplast store pigments. Okay, chloroplast is responsible majorly for photosynthesis. Chromoplast imparts color to fruits and flowers because it has all these additional carotenoids, pigments. And talking about leucoplast majorly function in the role of storage. Okay, so there are leucoplast which stores fats, which stores carbohydrates, which stores proteins for that matter. All right, so all in all, here for the question, plastids are going to be present in plant cells, but they are absent in the animal cells. Let me summarize everything related to this question for you. So the answer here is plastids. Going ahead with the solution, plastids are double membrane bound organelles which carry pigments or nutrients and are commonly found in plant cells and, very important, absent in the animal cells. There are three types of plastids: chloro, chromo and leucoplast. The ones that carry pigments include chloroplast and chromoplast. Chloroplast has chlorophyll, carotenoids and xanthophylls, alright, and chromoplasts have carotenoids and xanthophylls. Leucoplasts are the plastids that do not carry any pigment but carry nutrients like proteins, carbohydrates and oils or fats in them, and hence are responsible for storage of these things. Okay, going ahead with the remaining options which were incorrect for the question, ribosomes was given as one of the options. What are ribosomes? Ribosomes are non-membrane bound cell organelles which are commonly called as the protein factory of the cell. Why? Because they are responsible for synthesis of protein in the cell. These are they are the sites of protein synthesis. They in fact come together, they assemble together. That is the large subunit of the ribosome and the small subunit of the ribosome come together only during protein synthesis. Okay, so they are found in both animal cells as well as plant cells. Talking about the next incorrect option for the question, which was mitochondria. What is mitochondria? It is the powerhouse of the cell, and this is where energy in the form of ATP is synthesized. These are double membrane bound organelles and are semi-autonomous as they have their own DNA. Semi-autonomous means they are pretty much dependent on themselves, but they are also dependent on cellular machinery for some of the functions. So it becomes semi, which is like half or partial, autonomous. Okay, they are found in both plant as well as animal cells. Then was the option of endoplasmic reticulum, which was given in the question. Endoplasmic reticulum is once again a membranous structure which arises from the outer membrane of the nucleus, right? So it's a membrane bound network extending from the nuclear membrane, like I just specified, almost towards the plasma membrane. This ER is found in both plant cell and animal cells, and it can be in the form of smooth or rough. So I hope with this you have understood this question very well. Let us have a look at this question. Which among the following organelles are involved in the formation of acrosome of the sperm head? Okay, so here let me actually show you a structure of sperm, a very quick overview kind of a structure of sperm where you understand what is acrosome. Okay, so acrosome is basically a part of the tip of the sperm or the head of the sperm, like you see here. Okay, so what happens here is that this tip of the sperm stores these degradative enzymes which help the sperm to attach onto the egg during fertilization. And why is this important? Because for carrying out fertilization through the sperm nucleus into the egg nucleus, what is required is that the sperm needs to first dissolve a layer, protective layer, which is present around the egg. So if this is the egg, let me show it to you schematically here. If this is the egg and let's say if this is the sperm, right? So here this acrosome that is present at the tip or head of the sperm contains degradative enzymes which literally dissolves the layer present or the protective layer present outside the egg, and this is done with the help of special enzymes like hyaluronidase, etc. Okay, so who forms this acrosome in the sperm, it is responsible, Golgi apparatus is responsible for formation of acrosome for the sperm. So let us look at the question again. Which among the following organelles are involved in formation of acrosome of the sperm head? The answer here is very clearly going to be Golgi apparatus. Let us still have a look and quickly try to recall why are the other listed options here incorrect. That is endoplasmic reticulum, mitochondria and ribosomes. So first let me begin with Golgi apparatus. Let me help you recall what exactly is Golgi apparatus. Golgi apparatus or Golgi complex, like you call it, was discovered by Camillo Golgi, right? So it is responsible for modifying and packaging the proteins and the lipids that are released and synthesized by the endoplasmic reticulum, right? So rough endoplasmic reticulum is responsible for synthesis of proteins, and smooth endoplasmic reticulum is responsible for synthesis of the lipids. So both these things, whenever they are synthesized, they are going to be sent across the Golgi apparatus, and Golgi apparatus carries out its modification and packaging into respective vesicles. And this will be taken to a place wherever it needs to be transported, be it within the cell, be it outside the cell. All right. So another function of Golgi apparatus is to help in the formation of the acrosome of the sperm head. This is the region which releases enzymes that help in dissolving the membranes of the egg during fertilization. So like I told you, acrosome is going to store these degradative or digestive enzymes which are released when the sperm touches the egg, and when this is released, the outer protective layer of the egg is going to get dissolved, and this will allow the nucleus or the genetic material of the sperm to be pushed inside the cell to carry out fertilization, to be pushed inside the egg cell, you know. So this enables the sperm to enter the egg and fuse with the haploid nucleus. So honestly, even though we just generally say that it enables a sperm to enter the egg, it's actually only the genetic material of the sperm which actually enters the egg of the into the nucleus of the egg. All right. Talking about the remaining incorrect options for the question, we had rough endoplasmic reticulum. So RER has ribosomes and they are involved in protein synthesis. We know that already. Smooth endoplasmic reticulum is involved in synthesis of lipids. I just, specified this point just a while back. Talking about next option, ribosomes. What are ribosomes? They are the non-membrane bound cell organelles and are commonly called as protein factories of the cell. The reason is because they are responsible for synthesis of proteins in a cell. So they are the sites of protein synthesis. And the remaining option was mitochondria. What is mitochondria? Mitochondria is a double membrane bound cell organelle which is responsible for energy production. Hence we call it as the powerhouse of the cell. This is where energy is formed in the form of ATP. All right, ATP is adenosine triphosphate, which is the cellular form of energy, right? These are double membrane bound organelles. I already specified that, and are semi-autonomous as they have their own DNA. So when we say semi-autonomous, it basically means that this organelle is capable of carrying out pretty much quite a lot of functions of itself and carry out its own division also. So because it has its own DNA, it has its own ribosome. So to quite a lot of extent, it is capable of having a good amount of existence by itself, but it is still dependent on certain cellular machinery. That is why we call it as semi-autonomous and not completely autonomous. So I hope you all have understood this question very well. Let us have a look at this question. So this question reads, lysosome originates from, right? So this is a pretty straightforward kind of a question where you know that lysosomes are the suicide bags of the cell which has acid hydrolases or digestive enzymes within them. Okay, now these lysosomes arise from the Golgi complex or Golgi apparatus, you may call it so. The given options here are plasma lemma, Golgi apparatus, rough endoplasmic reticulum or RER, or both A and B. So here it is pretty clear that the answer here is going to be Golgi apparatus. See, sometimes what happens is that the vesicles are formed by the pinching of the plasma membrane also, but most of the vesicles are also formed from Golgi apparatus. Here the question is asking only about the lysosomal vesicles or lysosomes and not about vesicles in general, and that is the reason we will not choose plasma lemma as the answer. Okay, lysosomes specifically arise arise from Golgi complex, and this is a very important point from exam point of view. Okay, so let me show you a quick representative image of lysosome here. So lysosomes are digestive bags or suicide bags which has these special enzymes which are called as acid hydrolases. They degrade or break down these big macromolecules into simpler molecules. They even help in digestion of maybe an old cell organelle, and they might also burst within the cell when the whole cell needs to get killed in case of virus infected cell or maybe a cancerous cell or something like that. Okay, and because these enzymes work at a pH which is acidic in nature, we call these enzymes as acid hydrolases. All right, this is the lysosomal membrane, which is a simple thing. Okay, so here let us discuss all the remaining options along with lysosomes as a summary. Golgi apparatus, the right answer, is responsible for modifying and packaging proteins and lipids which are released from the endoplasmic reticulum. They are made up of flattened sacs called cisternae which are arranged parallel to each other. They are arranged parallel to each other. They are the packaging organelles of the cell, and they help in modifying and transporting proteins as well as lipids for that matter. So what you see here in this image is a Golgi apparatus from where lysosome is arising. So what you see here is that Golgi apparatus has this cisternae which are arranged almost parallelly like a stack, like a whole stack. Okay, here a digestive vesicle is being formed which we are referring to as the lysosome. Okay, talking about the remaining incorrect options here, one was endoplasmic reticulum. What is endoplasmic reticulum? It's a membranous structure which extends from the nuclear membrane towards the plasma membrane, and when ribosomes attach on these some of the surface of the endoplasmic reticulum, they are called as rough endoplasmic reticulum, and if there are no ribosomes attached on the surface of the endoplasmic reticulum, we call it as smooth endoplasmic reticulum. Rough endoplasmic reticulum is involved in the synthesis of protein because of the presence of ribosomes, and smooth endoplasmic reticulum is responsible for synthesis of lipids. Alright, next, plasma lemma was given. Plasma lemma is what? In simple language, it is your plasma membrane, right? So this is the outermost layer of an animal cell. When you talk about a plant cell, it's going to be the cell wall, right? But plant cell also has a plasma lemma or a plasma membrane which lies within the cell wall. It lies inner to the cell wall. So yeah, so this is the outermost layer of an animal cell, and the layer lying inner to the cell wall in case of plant cell. It is selectively permeable in nature. So with that, I hope you have understood this question very well. Let us have a look at this question. What does the cell vacuole contain? Okay, so we are talking about a cell vacuole. What is a cell vacuole? It's basically a single membrane bound cell organelle which acts like a storage unit for water, for waste, for dissolved solutes for that matter. Okay, so here the options given are only water, metabolic gases, water and dissolved substances, or cytoplasm. So you know that cytoplasm is not going to be the right answer. Even for metabolic gases, this is not what the vacuole stores as such, and not even water. What the vacuole stores is the cell sap. What is cell sap? It's basically, in simple language, is going to be water, dissolved solutes, like there is going to be amino acids, there's going to be glucose, there's going to be dissolved salts, etc. So here the most appropriate option would be option C, which is water and dissolved substances. Okay. So let us look at the solution here. Vacuole is a membrane bound space found in the cytoplasm. It occupies almost 90% of the space in plant cell. Obviously, in animal cells, the role and the size of the vacuole is not very prominent as it is in the plant cell. So the vacuole size and number is much smaller in case of animal cells, and sometimes it may be even absent. But because its role is quite prominent in the plant cells, the size of it is also big, and hence we have given you the statement that it almost occupies 90% of the space of the plant cell. It contains water, sap, excretory products and other materials which are not useful for the cell. So this is going to be the excretory or even the secretory material for that matter. Vacuoles are absent in animal cells mostly, but sometimes when it is present, it is going to be much smaller in size and much fewer in number. So I hope you have understood this question well. Let's see this question. Lysosomes are called suicide bags of the cell because they have. Okay. The options here are hydrolytic enzymes, parasitic activity, food vacuole, and or anabolic enzymes. So this is again a very straightforward kind of a question. When we are talking about lysosomes, what are lysosomes? Lysosomes are single membrane bound cell organelles which arise from the Golgi complex or Golgi apparatus, right? What do they specialize in? They basically have these special enzymes which are called as acid hydrolases, which basically are responsible for breakdown of macromolecules into simpler components with the help of these enzymes, okay, and they are active in the presence of water and they are active at an acidic pH, hence the name acid hydrolases. Okay, so lysosomes are going to be called as the suicide bag of the cell because sometimes when required, when the cell lysis is required, when the breakdown of the cell is required, the lysosomes literally release out their whole content in the cell and thereby bringing about the death or killing of the cell. Hence, it is called as suicide bag of the cell. So, this is happening because of these special enzymes which work in the presence of water as I specified. Hence, the right answer here would be option A, that is hydrolytic enzymes. Talking about the rest of the options, parasitic activity. What is a parasite? Parasite is any organism which is kind of living on some other organism. So, here there is no question of being a parasitic activity or carrying out a parasitic activity like that, right? So, this is not the right answer. Talking about a food vacuole, vacuole is a different cell organelle and lysosome is a different cell organelle. Vacuoles, when you talk about, they can be storing the excretory material, they can be storing the cell sap, they can even be storing food sometimes. That is when you call them as food vacuole, but it has nothing to do or be as the suicide bag of the cell, right? So, this option is also incorrect. Anabolic enzymes is a generic term where the enzymes which would be responsible for carrying out anabolic reactions would be called as anabolic enzymes. But once again, here lysosomes actually bring about the degradation of some macromolecule because of degradative enzymes or hydrolases or hydrolytic enzyme. There is nothing anabolic about it, directly speaking, right? So, this also becomes the incorrect option. The right answer here is lysosomes for us. Here, we've shown you a nice representation image which is showing that how lysosome which is arising here, what you see is that this lysosome here is fusing with this old cell organelle, and when it is fusing with the old cell organelle, it is bringing about the lysis of the cell organelle or sometimes even lysis of the whole cell, and that is why we are calling it as the suicide bag of the cell. So, let us summarize the whole solution here. Hydrolytic enzyme is the right answer. Lysosomes are called as the suicide bags of the cell as they not only help in digestion of metabolic waste but also in the autolysis or the breakdown of cell itself. They are membrane bound vesicular structures like you see here. They are rich in hydrolytic enzymes such as lipases which digest lipids, proteases which digest protein, nucleases which basically digest the nucleic acids and so different carbohydrate digesting enzymes as well. These enzymes help in digestion of lipids, proteins, carbohydrates and nucleic acid and such macromolecules. Alright. So, I hope with that you have understood this question very well.